Hello and welcome to this full tutorial and overview of how to use Apple's Numbers application. So if you've ever been intimidated by spreadsheets or if you're just looking for a refresher, this is the video for you. We'll talk about how to navigate the interface, build and construct your first spreadsheet, use formulas, make charts, save and share, and much more. So there'll be timestamps in the description of this video for you to jump back and forth to areas that you may need to go to. But with that said, let's just dive right in. So Apple's Numbers application comes free on all Macs and iOS devices. Now, there is a caveat, as recently they've released something called the Apple Creator Studio, and you'll see little purple star icons like you see here with the template chooser here, that those templates are only available for those people who pay, as you can see, Premium or the Creator Studio plan. Everything we're going to talk about today will be able to be accessed and done in the free version of Apple's Numbers. At the very end of the video, I'll talk about some of the benefits of having Creator Studio, but as for now, let's just get on with the show. So as you open up Apple's Numbers, you'll see in my dock, it looks like a little bitty kind of spreadsheet kind of chart here. It's a green icon. And if you want to find it on your Mac, you can hit Command Space to open up the Spotlight search, or just click on the magnifying glass in your menu bar and then just start typing the word Numbers and you'll see the application come up. Now you may see two different versions of Numbers. You may see this one here, and then you may see a darker icon. This one is the newer version of Numbers and the one we're going to be going through today, as this is the one most people are going to be utilizing for the foreseeable future. Just know that if you are using the older version, you can go into the App Store and download the new version if you want, but everything spoken and talked about today will be applicable to this one as well. All right, so once you have it open, you'll be presented with the template chooser here, where on the left-hand side, you'll see different options like recents, you'll see basic, you'll see budgets, but we're gonna go ahead and, for the purposes of this tutorial, start with a basic spreadsheet. You can start with a blank spreadsheet, a black background spreadsheet, table and chart. All of these things can be done the way that you want them, but we're just gonna start with a blank spreadsheet by double-clicking that there, and that's gonna open up our template. Now, with anything on your Mac, you can click and hold here towards the top and drag it around your desktop, or if you wanted to, you can double click and that will make it fill the screen of whatever monitor that you're using. Again, all of this is really up to you. If you want to use it alongside another app, you can always hover over this little green icon in the upper left hand corner and you can make it fill specific versions or portions of the screen. But we're going to go ahead and make it fill the entire screen so you guys can see everything that I'm doing today. All right, so we're going to be talking about the interface now. So the toolbar across the top. So this here that you see at the very top, anything that is in black you can do in the free version. Anything that is highlighted in purple is a feature of the Creator Studio or the paid version. So we're going to stick to these others here. So the addition symbol here allows you to choose a function or create a formula. We'll talk about that here shortly. The addition symbol on the left-hand side will allow us to add new sheets. If you do anything within Apple's Numbers and you want to undo that action, you hit Command Z on your keyboard and that will undo it. Same goes for text. So if we type text here, hit Command Z, and it will continue to undo as far back as it can possibly go. Now, a sheet, as you can see here with this drop-down menu, is just a blank spreadsheet. Now, within one document here, we can have multiple sheets. So think of Google Sheets if you've ever used that. They'll have the tabs at the very bottom. But if we start adding more sheets here, you can see that I can navigate between the different sheets. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to leave it to one right now until we start talking about other things. Next, we're going to talk about the tables, or what you see here, kind of the different cells. So you have your rows and your columns. Your rows are notated towards the left-hand side here, row numbers, and then your columns will be labeled alphabetically towards the top. So this is column G, and then this cell right here would be G9. Both of those will be highlighted if you select inside a cell. In order to type into a cell, you just click into that and then you begin typing on your keyboard. If you want to go ahead and paste something, what you would do is you would click and hold that yellow dot towards the bottom there, and that'll just autofill exactly what you have. That way, if you're having to copy and paste the same thing into multiple cells, you can do that very easily using that trick there. Next, we're going to have this option here. This is a category, so we can add different categories. So like column B here, we can add different categories. Those are things that you might want to do once you start understanding the lay of the land a bit better. Right here, we'll have an option to create a pivot table. These are all things that you can get into as you learn how to use Apple's numbers. Next, we have this little guy here. This is a table, so we can add a table, and then we can just select the type of table we want to add. So now you can see I've added another table right here alongside table number 1. Now, in order to add width and make them the same, you can go and click and hold and drag. And then by clicking on this green line here, I can add columns very easily by just clicking on it. And then the green line here on my rows, I can click that and add additional rows as well. The format sidebar on the right is going to be whatever you have selected. So if we have this cell selected here, anything in this formatting box to the right-hand side here, this is going to be applying to whatever we have selected. So if we have multiple cells selected, that's going to apply to those. So if we have this entire sheet selected, like so, and then we go here and add a style, like I've done, it's going to apply to everything that I have selected. In order to select multiple cells, you just click and hold anywhere to select multiple cells. Very simple, very easy. But the formatting little option over here is going to be applicable to whatever you have selected on your table or within your spreadsheet. Now, there are a number of categories. We have table options, there are individual cell options, there are text options. As you can see here, this is where you would change the style and look of a font. So if we select the font there, let's just say that we have this as our title right here on column B. You can center that by clicking this button. You can make it bold. You can change the actual font styling. All of this is fairly self-explanatory. And then we'll have the arrange option here. So bringing that to the front, sending it backward. This formatting box over here, you need to get to know this box, and it's going to be applicable to whatever you have selected over here. The next thing we're going to be talking about is entering and formatting data. So I've already talked about if you want to enter data, what you would do is you would just go ahead and start typing in the data. And just remember, when you select these cells here, you can format those by the format box over to the right-hand side. Before I start talking about formulas within Apple numbers, I want to talk about something that's very useful, and that's conditional formatting. So if we select the entire table, the easiest way of doing that is selecting the top left and then the bottom right to select the entire table, and then go to Format and then go to Conditional Highlighting. Now over here in our format box, we'll see where we can add a rule. So we will add a rule here and go to number and the number that's greater than. So we'll say if any number is greater than 60, we want to add a red fill. That means that it will bring up outliers for you. So if you know that, say you're making a spreadsheet, keeping up with your blood pressure, and like 130 and above is something you don't want, you can highlight that in red. So this gives us some conditional formatting, just something I wanted to show you. All right, so let's talk about your first formula. So let's go ahead and say that our total will be down here, and we want the formula or the total of column B to show up right here. How do we do that? So we click into the cell where we want our formula to go. Then we type the equal symbol on our keyboard, and that will bring up our formula box. And this is exactly what it looks like. It's the function pop-up. And we want this to just add up and give us the sum of these numbers. So we'll go ahead and say sum, like so, and we'll hit enter. And then once you hit enter on sum, you'll see the value here. Now we have to select the cells that we want to add. So what you would do now is you would go from B2 all the way down to right above here. So B2 to B20, and then you would just hit enter or click the check mark. And as you can see, it's going to give us the total right here, which is 286. So formulas work like basic operators like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and formulas will work just like a calculator. In order to delete a formula, you'd select that cell and then you just hit backspace on your keyboard to remove that formula. You'll be able to see a list of functions over on the right-hand side here once your formula box is presented. The ones that you'll want will be normally addition or average. So if I go here and I type in the word average, so we'll do average, and then we want to select our value, which will be the cells. So we'll go here and select our range, hit the check mark or enter, and it gives us an average of those there. And that's the basics of formulas within Apple's numbers. Now let's say we want to add a chart to make this more visually appealing. How would we go about doing that? And then once we have our data selected, we would go up to the chart or add chart button here in our toolbar. So we'll select this one here, and we'll just add a simple 2D chart here, a 2D bar chart, as you can see. And as you can see, when I have that chart selected, I can click and hold and move that. I'll put it up here and make it a bit bigger for you to see. And as you can see, it's a simple bar chart. And we can click and hold the drag icon here to make it bigger or smaller, like with anything within Apple's numbers. And when we have it selected, you'll see all the different options that we have over here to the right. You can change the style as far as like coloring. You can change the titles. You can change the chart colors. You can give it rounded corners. All of these things are options that you'll need to play with to see what works best for you. So as you can see, anything that I add or remove over here in my table will show up on the chart in real time over on the right-hand side. Now, with anything, you can select the chart and you can hit backspace or delete on your keyboard to remove it. But that's how you add and manipulate charts within Apple's numbers. Now let's talk about saving in iCloud and sharing. If you want to save a document, you go to File and then go to Save, as you can see here, and then it gives you the option to name this. So we'll say Spreadsheet 1. You can give it tags, and then you can decide where you want to save this document. Now, if we go to our downloads where we just saved it, you can see that if we go here and go to Get Info, it's going to save this as a numbers spreadsheet. So the extension is .numbers, which is just the numbers file format. But if we go to File and then we go to Export to, you see we have options to export this as a PDF, as an Excel file, as a CSV, an older version of numbers as well. But if we save this as an Excel file, this will allow us to send it to folks who only use, Microsoft tools, and they can open and manipulate this within Excel. Right? And then right here where it says Excel worksheets, 1 per sheet, 1 per table. I would do 1 per table, but you really need to ask the person you're sending it to what they would want. You can require a password at login to open if you want, and then you just hit save like so. And then once you do that, if we open up our Finder once more, you can see that this now, if we go to Get Info, is saved as an XLSX, which is the Excel extension. But just know that everything may not be one-to-one. Things that are exported, as you can see, if I preview this, it looks slightly different than what you see here as the numbers file. So it may not be an exact one-to-one, but it will allow you to play fairly nice with Microsoft tools. Now, if we go to the top right here, we can click the share button, which is the square with a upward pointing arrow. This allows us to collaborate with other folks. We can send it to them via message. We can send it to them via AirDrop. We can copy. We can export and send. This allows you to collaborate with other folks who have Apple numbers, and you can work on the same spreadsheet or document together. You now know everything you need to know to get going with Apple's numbers. I have done full tutorials on all of Apple's software, so if you're interested in how to use Apple's Pages or anything of that nature, there'll be links and you'll see them on my channel page. There will also be a pinned comment down below with some frequently asked questions as far as getting going with Apple's numbers. And if this helped, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.